The billionaire laughed so loudly the entire private hangar echoed. You! Fly my jet? My goodness, look at you. Your clothes are wrinkled. You don't even look like you've seen the inside of a plane before. Tell you what. He smirked, flashing his gold watch. Fly this jet successfully, and I'll give you 50% of my wealth. But the black man didn't say a word. His eyes remained calm, because the billionaire had no idea who was standing in front of him. At the center of it all stood Elliot Kane. Billionaire, tech mogul, ego in a human body. He wore a sharp navy jacket over a white t-shirt that probably cost more than someone's monthly rent. His sneakers were spotless. His watch glinted every time he checked it, which was often. He was angry. "Where is Mason?" Elliot snapped, pacing near the glass. "My pilot knows I don't wait." His assistant, Jeremy, fumbled with his tablet. "Sir, there's been a pileup on the 405, Jeremy said. "Mason is stuck in traffic. The earliest he can get here is in an hour and a half." "An hour and a half?" Elliot repeated, incredulous. "I need to be in San Francisco in 2 hours. That deal will not wait for me." Jeremy swallowed. "We're calling charter companies, but they all say the same thing. No available pilots on such short notice." Elliot muttered a curse under his breath. His social media manager hovered nearby, always ready with a camera in case anything viral happened. Behind them, near the wall of windows, a lone black man sat quietly in one of the leather chairs, mid-40s, dark skin, simple black jacket, plain gray t-shirt, faded jeans, worn sneakers. A duffel bag rested at his feet, a paperback book open in his hands. He didn't look like a billionaire. He didn't look like he belonged to the private jet crowd. And that was all Elliot needed to decide who he was. Elliot turned sharply and spotted the man. He smirked. "New public bus stop inside the private terminal," he said loudly enough for his entourage to hear. A few quiet chuckles followed him. Power made people laugh at things that weren't funny. He walked over to the man with the lazy confidence of someone used to owning every room he entered. "Hey, man," Elliot said. "This is a private terminal. You lost?" The man calmly looked up from his book. "No," he answered simply. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The quiet certainty in his voice bothered Elliot. He scanned the man's clothes again. Old sneakers, worn jacket, no visible brand flecks. "You flying commercial?" Elliot asked. "Wrong side of the airport, buddy?" The man's expression didn't change. "I'm waiting for someone," he said. Elliot chuckled, glancing at his team as if they were part of the joke. "Well, while you're waiting, you want a job?" he said. "I could use someone to wipe the wheels on my jet, make sure they shine for my pictures." More soft laughter. "I don't do that kind of work," the man replied calmly. "Oh?" Elliot tilted his head. "So what kind of work do you do?" The man closed his book gently and set it on the seat beside him. "I used to fly," he said. "Fly?" Elliot echoed. "As in, what? Drones? Paper planes?" "Jets," the man said. "Real ones." The air shifted. Some staff looked over now, paying attention. Elliot smirked wider. "Right," he said. "You, in that jacket, flew jets." "Yes," the man said. "I did." Elliot saw the calm in his eyes and mistook it for arrogance. His ego flared. "Okay," Elliot said, turning his voice up so everyone nearby could hear. "Let's make this interesting." He jabbed a thumb toward his gleaming Gulfstream sitting outside on the tarmac. "That's my jet," he said. "I desperately need to get to San Francisco. My pilot is stuck in traffic. No backups. No one else available." He stepped closer, crowding the man's space just enough. "You say you used to fly jets?" Elliot continued. "Cool. Prove it." The man lifted an eyebrow. "How?" he asked. Elliot's smile widened. If you can take that jet up into the air, he said, savoring each word, fly it from here to San Francisco and land it safely, I will give you 50% of my wealth. The terminal went silent. Jeremy's eyes widened. The social media manager's phone was already recording. Some of the staff froze in place. Sir, Jeremy began shakily. Elliot cut him off with a raised hand. You heard me, Elliot said, never taking his eyes off the man. 50%. That's billions, if you're curious. He shrugged casually. And if you crash, he added, I'll buy another jet. I can afford it. He laughed. Some echoed his laughter out of habit, not humor. The man's eyes didn't flinch, didn't waver. Is that your final offer? He asked quietly. Elliot spread his arms. That's my final offer, he said. In front of all these witnesses, on camera. The social media manager grinned. This is gold, he whispered. The man slowly stood up. He wasn't tall, but he carried himself with a calm firmness that made people instinctively move out of his way. He picked up his duffel and slung it over his shoulder. What's your name? Elliot demanded. Marcus Cole, the man replied. Elliot gave a mocking half-bow. Well, Marcus, he said, you're about to find out how crazy the rich can be. Marcus turned toward the window, toward the jet. Open the aircraft, he said. The ground crew hesitated. Sir, are we really? One of them whispered to the terminal manager. That's Elliot Kane, the manager whispered back. If he says open the jet, we open the jet. A call was made. A few clearances checked. The jet's door unlocked with a soft click. The stairs lowered like a silver tongue. Elliot strutted behind Marcus with his little entourage, treating the scene like a show. Are you filming this? He asked his social media manager. Non-stop, the guy replied, phone up. We're live streaming to the burner page. Perfect, Elliot said. Marcus walked slowly, calmly, his expression unreadable. He reached the bottom of the stairs and paused, looking up at the jet for a second. Not in awe, but in recognition. He placed his hand on the railing and climbed. At the top, the flight attendant stood nervously inside. Are you with Mr. Kane? She asked. Yes, Marcus answered. I'll be flying today. She blinked. You're the pilot, he finished for her with a small nod. Her training told her to protest, but something in his tone, firm, professional, unshaken, made her pause. He stepped past her, walked down the aisle of cream leather seats and polished wood, and reached the cockpit door. He opened it. Empty. He slid into the left seat, the captain's seat, like he'd done it yesterday. His hands settled automatically on the familiar layout. Buttons, switches, screens, throttles. To a stranger, chaos. To him, a language. He started moving. Battery, APU, fuel, systems checks, calm, precise, efficient. Outside, Elliot watched through the window. He's really pressing buttons, the social media manager said. Anyone with Wi-Fi can fake that, Elliot scoffed. I bet he watched a tutorial. But there was a small, involuntary knot tightening in his chest. 3 years ago, Captain Marcus Cole had been one of the youngest black captains in a major U.S. airline. Before that, he was a U.S. Air Force pilot. He'd flown in hostile zones, landed on short, rough runways with bad weather and worse odds. Carried soldiers who trusted him with their lives. He grew up in Atlanta, the son of a mechanic and a nurse. Planes overhead weren't noise to him. They were promises. He worked extra shifts, studied extra hours, earned every qualification the hard way. But when a faulty part in an aircraft led to a near disaster, the airline needed someone to take the fall. Internal documents quietly showed maintenance had delayed a critical replacement. Publicly? It was easier to point at the pilot. Marcus's license got suspended. His name was dragged. His career shattered. Instead of spending years in court, he went home. He lived quietly, started a small, underfunded program teaching kids from underrepresented communities about aviation, flight basics, simulators when they could afford time, how to dream past the ceiling others placed on them. But none of that showed in his clothes. None of that showed on his shoes. To men like Elliot, all that history was invisible. Inside the cockpit, Marcus contacted ground. Van Nuys ground, this is Gulfstream, Kane 777, requesting startup clearance and IFR to San Francisco International, he said, voice clipped, professional. The controller hesitated. Kane 777, we don't have you on record as Captain Mason today, ground replied. Confirm current PIC. Captain Marcus Cole acting PIC for this flight, Marcus replied, providing his credentials and the necessary details. Silence. Inside the control room, a controller typed quickly, cross-checking records. Wait, Marcus Cole? One of them said. Wasn't he? Yeah, another replied. Former Air Force, ex-Liberty Air Captain. He's the real deal. Back on the frequency. Kane 777. Startup approved. Taxi via Charlie to runway 16R. Cleared as filed to San Francisco International. Marcus smiled faintly. Taxi via Charlie to 16R. Cleared to SFO as filed. Kane 777, he replied. He started the engines. The jet hummed, vibrated, came alive. On the tarmac, Elliot watched the engine spool up, his smirk starting to fade. Sir, the tower just cleared him, Jeremy said quietly. They know who he is. What do you mean, know who he is? Elliot snapped. They recognized his name, sir. The social media manager swallowed. Comments are blowing up, he muttered, scrolling. People are asking if that's the Marcus Cole. Some folks remember. Elliot forced a laugh. So what? He used to fly, he said. Doesn't mean he still can. The jet began to taxi. Guided by ground crew, it rolled smoothly down the taxiway, turned, and lined up on runway 16R. In the cockpit, Marcus checked everything once more. He pushed the throttles forward. The engines roared. The jet hurtled down the runway. 80 knots. V1. Rotate. He pulled back. The wheels left the ground. The aircraft climbed into the sky with perfect, practiced grace. Inside the terminal, people pressed to the glass, watching. He actually did it, Jeremy whispered. The social media manager filmed the takeoff, stunned. Bro, this is not the content we thought we were making, he murmured. Elliot said nothing. For the first time, he felt something heavier than arrogance pressing against his ribs. At cruising altitude, somewhere over California, the Gulf Stream glided smoothly above a sea of clouds. Marcus monitored instruments, checked in with ATC, made adjustments like he'd never left. The flight attendant tiptoed toward the cockpit. Captain? She asked softly. Yes, he replied, eyes on his panel. Are we safe? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. He glanced at her, then back at his instruments. You're safer with me, he said quietly, than with a man who thinks people are props. Her shoulders eased. Would you like coffee? She asked. Black, he said, with the faintest hint of a smile. No sugar. Back in Los Angeles, while the jet cut through air, the internet was on fire. The video from the terminal had been clipped and reposted everywhere. A billionaire mocking a black man in a private terminal. Fly this jet and I'll give you 50% of my wealth. The man quietly agreeing. Walking to the jet, sitting in the cockpit, engines spooling, takeoff. People started digging into Marcus Cole. Old news articles resurfaced. headlines about his suspension, discussions about how unfair it had been. Comment sections filled with, "Wait, that's Marcus Cole? The billionaire messed with the wrong guy. He bet half his wealth like the man's life was a game. Racist, arrogant, and recorded. Great combo." By mid-afternoon, a Fly This jet and not Marcus Cole were trending. Elliot's PR team flooded his phone with messages. "Do not say it was staged. Legal implications. Prepare statement. This looks really bad." Elliot paced inside another chartered jet he'd quickly hired to get to San Francisco. "I was joking," he muttered. "Everyone knows I was joking." "Online," Jeremy said carefully. "People are asking if you're going to honor your own bet." Elliot froze. "Honor?" he scoffed. "You can't be serious." "Sir, they're serious," Jeremy replied. "And there's already talk of wealth accountability. People saying you see human lives as content." Elliot stared out the window in silence. Far ahead, somewhere, was his own Gulf Stream, with the man he had mocked at the controls. The sun dipped in the sky as the Gulf Stream descended toward San Francisco International Airport. Runway lights glowed like a landing strip of stars. "San Francisco Tower, Kane 777 on final," Marcus radioed. "Kane 777, cleared to land runway 28L, winds calm," came the answer. "Cleared to land 28L, Kane 7777. The jet glided down. Marcus eased the yoke back gently. The wheels kissed the runway, smooth, controlled, perfect. The jet rolled to a taxiway, slowed, and turned. In the cabin, the flight attendant closed her eyes in relief. He hadn't just got them there. He'd done it with the grace of a man who knew the sky like his own handwriting. When the engine shut down, Marcus stayed in the cockpit for a brief moment. His hand rested on the controls. 3 years on the ground, one arrogant billionaire, one crazy bet. And here he was again, in the sky, in his element. He picked up his duffel and walked down the aisle. Outside on the tarmac, black SUVs and airport staff waited. He descended the stairs to the ground. Elliot's chartered plane landed minutes later. Elliot stepped out of his jet, face tight, phone in his hand like a weapon. He marched toward Marcus. "You shouldn't have done that," Elliot snapped. "You had no right flying my jet like that without me on board." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You made the bet," he said calmly. "I accepted. You wanted content. You got a safe flight and content." Elliot's jaw clenched. "That bet was a joke," he said. "Nobody expects to be held to an outrageous statement like that. Everyone knows it." "Do they?" Marcus asked softly. He gestured around. Ground crew were watching. Some were recording on their phones. A few local reporters who caught wind of the situation had already arrived, cameras in hand. "You pointed at a jet full of fuel," Marcus continued, voice low but clear. "You told a man you believed was unqualified to fly it in exchange for half your wealth. You mocked him publicly. You laughed about him dying. That joke had weight, Elliot." Elliot swallowed. "I didn't force you," he said defensively. "You chose to do it." "I chose," Marcus replied, "to show you exactly how dangerous your mouth can be. I knew I could fly that jet safely. You didn't know anything about me. You were ready to risk my life for entertainment." For a moment, silence. Phones were raised around them, cameras rolling. "What do you want?" Elliot hissed. "You want the money? You want the full 50%? You want to bankrupt me?" Marcus shook his head once. "I don't want your bank account," he said. "That kind of wealth without purpose rots people. I've seen what it did to you." Elliot's eyes flashed. "Then what?" he demanded. "Because the internet already thinks I should hand you half my empire." Marcus took a slow breath. "You gave me a number," he said. 50% of your wealth. I'm not here to collect it for myself. I'm here to make you honor the spirit of what you said. You want out? Marcus asked quietly. There's one way. Elliot folded his arms. I'm listening, he said. You said you'd give me half your wealth, Marcus said. I don't want it. That kind of sudden money changes nothing in the world but my address. He pointed toward the city skyline. I want you to put the equivalent of that 50% into something that actually matters. Not as a PR donation, not as a temporary gesture. I want a binding commitment you can't wriggle out of the moment the internet moves on. Elliot narrowed his eyes. Into what? He asked. Aviation access, Marcus said. In the communities you ignore, in the neighborhoods you don't invest in, training programs, simulators, scholarships, mentors, flight schools. Over the next 10 years, not 2 weeks. Elliot scoffed. In 2 days I'm supposed to restructure my entire portfolio, he said. Marcus shook his head. In 2 days, he replied, you're going to stand in front of cameras and announce it, publicly, on record. You're going to outline the framework, the percentage, the intent, the first funded locations. You have lawyers. You move billions with one email. You can move this. He stepped a little closer. Day 1, you insulted a stranger and wagered half your wealth on his life, Marcus said calmly. Day 2, you'll prove whether your words mean anything. And if I don't? Elliot challenged. Marcus looked briefly at the people nearby, still recording. If you don't, he said, you prove to the entire world that your word is empty. You become the man who publicly bet a black man's life for laughs, lost, and ran. And I'll use every platform given to me now to make sure that story doesn't die. The threat was not shouted. It didn't need to be. It was simple, factual. Elliot felt sweat at the back of his neck despite the evening chill. His lawyers texted his phone like machine gun fire. PR teams fired off messages. Hashtag storms brewed online. He stared at Marcus. A press conference tomorrow, Marcus said. Day 2, you, me, and the plan. He started to walk away, then paused. Oh, and one more thing, Marcus added, glancing back. No staged narrative. No, this was planned all along spin. Tell the truth, that the man you looked down on knew more than you bothered to ask. Elliot stood there as Marcus walked away into the terminal. He had less than 24 hours to decide what kind of man he actually was. By midnight, every major news outlet had a version of the story. Billionaire bets half his wealth on black stranger flying his jet. Man turns out to be highly decorated pilot. Arrogant challenge backfires spectacularly. Talk shows previewed it already. Hashtags trended globally. Car Marcus Cole, car fly this jet, car honor the bet. Think pieces popped up online. Discussions about racial bias, wealth arrogance, and accountability flooded timelines. Some of Elliot's investors called. Some threatened to pull out if he didn't handle the situation well. Others warned that he was now the face of casual cruelty. By 2 a.m., Elliot realized something. This would not just blow over. He could either double down, spin, and drown in backlash, or he could do something that terrified him more than losing money. Change. At 3 a.m., he called his lawyers, his PR firm, his finance team. We're doing it, he said, voice hoarse. We're actually doing it. Doing what? His head lawyer asked. The initiative he wants, Elliot replied. We'll structure it, lock it in, and announce it tomorrow. Elliot, that's billions, the lawyer warned. Yes, Elliot said. It is. He stared at his reflection in the dark hotel window. For once, he added quietly, I want my money to solve something I can't buy my way out of. Exactly 1 day after the bet in the terminal, less than 48 hours after their first meeting, cameras crowded into a mid-sized hangar at a small regional airport near San Francisco. There were no flashy lights, no product demos, just a simple banner, Coal Cane Aviation Access Initiative. Reporters filled the space. Youth organizations were invited. A few kids from Oakland and Bay Area community programs stood in the front row, eyes wide. Elliot stepped up to the podium. He didn't look like the untouchable billionaire from the terminal. He looked humbled, uncomfortable, human. He cleared his throat. "Yesterday," he began, "I said something in a private jet terminal that exposed the worst parts of who I am." Flashes of cameras. Murmurs from the press. "I saw a black man sitting alone," Elliot continued. "I judged him by his clothes. I assumed he didn't belong. I mocked him publicly. I turned his dignity into entertainment. And then I did something worse. I made a reckless bet. Fly my jet, and I'll give you 50% of my wealth." He paused. "I meant it as a joke. That's what I told myself. But if he had been unqualified, it wouldn't have been funny. It would have been deadly." He swallowed. "What I didn't know was that the man I mocked was Captain Marcus Cole, a former Air Force pilot and airline captain with thousands of hours of flight time. A man whose career was unfairly taken. A man who still chose to live with integrity." He stepped back slightly and gestured to Marcus, standing to his left. "He flew my jet safely from Los Angeles to San Francisco," Elliot said. "He could have taken my words and demanded half my wealth for himself. Instead, he demanded something harder." Reporters leaned forward. "Captain Cole asked me to honor the spirit of my own words," Elliot continued. "So today, within 2 days of that bet, I'm announcing this. I am committing 50% of my personal wealth into a legally binding structure that will fund aviation training, education, and career pathways for underrepresented youth across the United States. This will include flight simulators, scholarships, training centers, mentorships, and program partnerships in at least 15 cities over the next 10 years. Gasps, more flashes. "These funds are not a one-time donation," Elliot said. "They are a sustained investment. I can't undo my arrogance. But I can make sure that the moment I try to turn a man's life into a spectacle becomes the doorway for thousands of young people to reach the sky." He stepped aside. Marcus approached the microphone. He didn't smile for the cameras. He wasn't there for applause. "My name is Marcus Cole," he said simply. "Yesterday morning, I was a stranger in a terminal. Yesterday afternoon, I was a headline. Today, I'm standing here for one reason, to make sure something changes." He looked at the kids in the front row. "Some of you were told that people like you don't become pilots," he said. "You're told to stay on the ground, to stay realistic, to stay small." He shook his head. "They lied to you." The room was silent. "The sky doesn't care what color you are," Marcus continued. "It doesn't care how rich your parents are. Cockpits don't care if your shoes are brand new or worn out. They care if you're trained, focused, trustworthy." He glanced at Elliot briefly. "Yesterday, a man with money judged a man without flashy clothes and decided his life was worth a joke," Marcus said. "Today, that same man is standing here, publicly redirecting half of that money into something bigger than both of us. That doesn't make him a hero. It makes him accountable." He turned his attention back to the room. "This all happened in 2 days," Marcus said. "Day 1, insult, arrogance, a reckless bet. Day 2, truth, exposure, and a decision." He paused. "So here's my message to anyone watching this. Don't wait years to fix what you broke in a moment. Don't hide behind 'I was joking' when your words carry real weight. Don't assume you know a person's story from their shoes." He took a breath. "And to every young person listening, your future is not limited by the people who misjudge you. Their ignorance is not your ceiling. It's just noise. Learn, train, push. One day, someone who looks down on you will have to look up to see you flying. He stepped back from the microphone. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Kids stared at him like he'd just reached into their chests and placed a new dream there. Within 48 hours, the narrative had transformed. From Billionaire Mocked Black Man in Private Terminal to pilot turns arrogant bet into nationwide opportunity. Never judge a person by their appearance in a single moment. You don't know their history, their sacrifice, or their skill. Your words carry weight, even when you say, "I was just joking," especially when you have power and money. Jokes can reveal your true heart. Wealth without character is dangerous. Elliot's money made him think consequences were optional. In 48 hours, he learned otherwise. Real power is not in owning jets, it's in how you treat people you think you don't need. Impact beats ego. Marcus could have grabbed wealth for himself. Instead, he turned the moment into a doorway for thousands. If this story touched you, don't just scroll away. Like this video if you believe no one should be judged by their appearance. Subscribe to Hidden Tales and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story. Viewers, have you ever been judged or underestimated because of how you look, dress, or where you come from? Comment. I know this feeling and share your experience below. Your comment might be the voice someone else needs to feel seen today. Don't just watch, engage.